Hello and welcome to SweetSpotDFS. This is a lineup construction video for the 2020 Charles Schwab Challenge. I won't lie, I have already created this video like 4 times. 2 of them failed due to technical issues. Something happened with my camera. The other 2, I got to a point where I realized I didn't talk about what I wanted to talk about, so I ditched them. Hopefully this one goes better. So what am I doing in this lineup construction video? What am I trying to convey, to prove, to help you guys create better lineups? Well, with everyone else in the industry talking about shots gained metrics, I primarily focus on recent form. I do that in a process that I call the bucket system, which takes the most recent results of recent form and of course history and compile it into a score. And then I give those scores to players depending on how well they did in those 2 buckets. And then basically through analysis, try to find how often those buckets finish inside the top 10, top 5, and even like the combinations. And I'll get to that later on in the video, but that's essentially what I do in these videos. And what it ends up doing, what it ends up helping is it ends up narrowing down your player pool considerably. When you're told you can only play certain players X amount of times, or certain types of players, or certain golfers in a bucket certain amount of times, you then have to ditch that bucket and search for the next bucket that you're comfortable playing, and therefore you remove, your temptation to play certain players. And it also gives you more conviction on some of the other players. So hopefully you see that later on in the video. But before we get into the video, what I do want to remind you guys, like I do in every video, if you want to watch this video in a faster speed, you have the opportunity to do that, or the ability to do that on YouTube. If you are on desktop, hover your mouse anywhere on the video. You're going to see a gear icon probably like right there, maybe over there. Drill down on that. You'll find playback speed. I recommend 1.5. I watch all my podcasts, all my videos, not mine, but just podcasts in general, at that speed. It saves a lot of time. So depending on how long this video is, if it's an hour, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever, basically, if you let's make it easy. You do it at 2 times speed. You're cutting this video in half, which saves you a bunch of time. And it's pretty smooth. Like you're going to have to pause and rewind and be like, what did he say there? You're going to be able to watch the whole video all the way through. Trust me. I've done it. It works. If you're on mobile, you can find kind of a vertical ellipses. And ellipses are 3 dots together. But a vertical ellipses, you'll see that at the top right corner of your cell phone or tablet, whatever. Drill down on that. You'll find playback speed there, and you can do the same thing there. I will also have timestamps in the description to find the parts of the video you want to watch. So go ahead, explore that, get to the parts that you want to see. Make your life easier, honestly. That's what this is all about. Okay, so let's go ahead, look at the player pool criteria that I'm looking at. I'm looking for golfers that have some course history. Doesn't matter if it's good, doesn't matter if it's bad. I'm probably going to want to find some combination of the 2. But having golfers with all good course history, it's not gonna net you a win. Like you don't want that. You might want to grab 2 golfers with good course history, 2 golfers with medium, and 2 golfers with bad. You can also throw in there some golfers with no course history. As we see in 2019, or what you will see, is Tyrrell Hatton was the only golfer that didn't have course history inside the top 10. Everyone else did. The field is a bit different, don't get me wrong. Like we have one of the best fields that you can have at, this isn't a major tournament, this isn't a WGC tournament, yet this field is stronger than most WGC fields, which are World Golf Championships, if you guys don't know what that is. People are itching to get back to golf. Like the PGA pros want to get back, and I don't blame them. Obviously, I would too, if I had this long delay like they do. So there might be more golfers that have 0 course history that will find themselves in the top 10, but those are going to be your elite golfers. So take that into account as well. I would strongly recommend finding golfers that do have course history, but those that don't, those are your elite golfers, like a Rory McIlroy, basically. He's one of them. I'm also going to look at overall bent grass because these are bent grass greens. The ball rolls over different strains of grass differently. So having golfers that have good performance on this grass is going to be a big leg up. Not saying that it's a deterrent if they're not good on bent grass, but it's definitely better if they have good bent grass stats. And we'll see that also when we look at the 2019 DK page. It just goes hand in hand. I do have shots gained tee to green on here, but I'm not going to look at it. When I went through these videos, the 4 times that I did, the first time that I did it, I'm like, oh, this isn't a good stat. So don't mind that. I didn't have time to erase it or cross it out or anything like that. However, the last year 1 and last year 2, I want a minimum of 2 golfers that fit that criteria that are going to be in my lineup, and we'll go over that. We'll talk about the bucket system right now. So on the notes page of my spreadsheet for each tournament, I have the bucket system. They live within these 2 tables, top 5 and top 10. What the bucket system is, if you've never been here before, I should say welcome. Glad that you're watching. But what I do with these bucket system tables is that I capture data. So how this reads is top 5. This is the top 5 finishing position for each year this tournament was played. So in 2019, we had 5 golfers that finished inside the top 5. I know it sounds funny, but a lot of times we have ties. Obviously, 2018, we had 7 golfers that finished inside the top 5. So we have 5. Now, in 2019, 3 of those golfers finished 1st through 20th in 2018. Likewise, 2 of those golfers did not play the year before. So your top 5 finishing positions, or finishing, only had 2 ranges that I have right here, and I only have 6 ranges that I go by. That's the constant from week to week, is these 6 ranges are always the same. I don't change the 6 ranges. It's 1 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, 60 to 80, 80 plus, and did not play. And that's primarily because the cut used to be top 70 in ties, and we'd always find 77 to 80 golfers. Not always, but most of the time, we'd find 77 to 80 golfers finishing or making the cut. So basically what that would do is, like, anyone that finished past 80, I would just, like a missed cut for me is 85. I give them 85th position. And when I average out all the data, if you've missed the cut, you've essentially finished 85th place. That to me is better than giving them like 101, 102, 103, 104, primarily because a missed cut's a missed cut. It doesn't really matter who you are. Too many things go into missed cuts. Bad breaks obviously go into missed cuts. Bad swing thoughts, bad swing mechanics go into that. Things can change year to year. And week to week, like missed cuts are just whatever. So that's why 80 plus is there. And plus, this makes it super round. Like, it's a really good even number ranges, really easy to track, all that kind of stuff. So but it's just easier. So that is what's constant week after week. The scores are not constant. The scores are based off of how often, or basically the frequency of these golfers within those ranges. So as you can see in the top 5 for last year, we have 13 golfers that finished 1st through 20th, and we have 13 golfers that did not play. So how do we determine why one is higher than the other one? I come down to the top 10 and look to see if there's a little bit more of a difference, and there is. So 1st through 20th finishing positions have less in that range than the did not plays. So that's why the did not plays get the last year bucket score 1 as opposed to the 1st through 20. And obviously you can see the rest of it correlates with each other. And then I color code that over here to make things easier when we select players. So that's pretty detailed. I wanted to be a little bit more high level, but I also would do that with last week go through that. And then I also would go and combine them together and create an individual combination bucket for each one. So there are 6 last year buckets, there are 6 last week buckets, there are 36 total combination buckets. And what that helps also do is pinpoint top 5 likelihood, top 10 likelihood, and basically a confidence rating, what bucket combination we should play. So that's basically how I would go. But we don't have last week's scores, so we're not going to look at the combinations. We're not going to look at the last week. We're going to look at the last year. And I grabbed the score from the top 10 finishing place positions. And that's primarily because there are more numbers. We'll find more consistencies and more disparities. So I want to use the top 10 to populate my scores for golfers. So when I go to the 2020 DK page, which I already have sorted out because obviously I was doing this video a couple times. So when I have this sorted by salary, you can see all the different numbers here under the column M for last year bucket. And then obviously their correlation is missed cut equals a last year bucket 3, did not play last year 1, Tony Finau. So your first golfer you see who finished inside the top 20 is the last year bucket 2. And if you remember, I wanted to find 2 golfers that were last year 1s, 2 golfers that were last year 2s. And that's primarily because when we look at the top 10 bucket here, or table, you see at least 2 golfers every single year finish inside those ranges, those buckets. So therefore, that's what I'm also looking for this year. Now, you could make the argument that some of those are dead last in the top 10, which you wouldn't be wrong. Like if we go here, we can see a bunch of these golfers that fall under those buckets that are near the bottom. Especially like 2017 is a really good case. Same with 2016. Like each one of these has only 2 instances that bucket score finished inside the top 10, and one of each are near the bottom of that top 10 leaderboard. So if this was Rory McIlroy right here, based off of his price, you would not get value on it. You might win money, like if you made all 6 through the cut, but Rory would hurt you more being 9th place or 10th place than obviously if he was 3rd place. So you always got to keep that in mind too. Sometimes the bucket system works, like you could create a lineup like this and say like this was your lineup, or I shouldn't say this was your lineup. If this is what the bucket system tells you to do, is like, because obviously it would work. It'd be like, yep, see, it shows 2 last year 2s, 2 last week 1s, or not last week 1s, last year 1s. If I said last week at all during this whole time, I didn't mean to. So if we have 2 last year 2s, 2 last year 1s, that would obviously follow the rules that we're looking for. But what if that's Rory right there and that's Jon Rahm? Like you can't add those 2 together this year because it just won't fit under the salary restrictions. Especially if this is Tony Finau. Like 11.8 plus 11,000 plus 9,700. It's not going to work. Or 8,700, sorry. It's not going to work. Unless you could find the other 3 at the bare minimum. Maybe it does then, but more likely it doesn't. But yeah, I want to keep that in mind so you guys are thinking about that. And then when I go to my lineup construction page, I just want to show you it right now. I do have players that are populated, and I'll tell you why. But if you just focus on this, I have these 2 columns here colored already. This is to tell me I want 2 last year 1s automatically and then 2 last year 2s. So that's why I have this lineup construction page colored. I'm also going to tell you about why I have this information, or these golfers populated. I'm not going to get there yet, but I will. If we go to the 2019 DK page, I suppose we can start talking about it. What I'm looking for, or this is what I ended up doing. So I already went through this and I already talked about it. I don't feel like you guys need to hear it. You can also go to the preview video and find more of this information. But what I did was I looked at overall bentgrass stats and looked to see how many golfers finished inside the top 10. There are 10. So out of the top 20, that would be from John Rahm down to Jimmy Walker. That's 20 golfers. If you want to pause the video and count, you can hold me accountable. But it is that is 20 golfers. We have, again, 3 that finished inside the top 10. So this is your results over here in column M for the 2019 tournament. Tony Finau was 2nd. Jordan Spieth finished 8th last year. Tyrrell Hatton also finished 8th. But this is overall bent. This is your top golfers for bent grass in this field for 2019. 3 finished inside the top 10 that are inside the top 20 for that stat. Okay. So what I ended up doing was I went to the 2020 DK page. And I sorted by bent grass. And then what I did, so like Victor Perez and Christian Bezuidenhout only have 1 event under the belt. I'm not going to include them in these stats. But the top 20 from John Rahm down to Xander, I put this capital B next to for bent grass stats. You're going to see all these other numbers and letters, and those just indicate, that they are a last year 1, a last year 2. A is around the green. The little b is birdie or better. And then if you find a P, that would be proximity. So why do I have those letters next to these players? Well, when I go to 2019, just like I showed you with bent grass, of the top 20 bent grass golfers in the field, 3 of them finished top 10. If I go and hide this information, I can go ahead and do that the same way with around the green. So around the green, if we look at the top golfers for around the green, we see Kevin Na, Tyrrell Hatton, Rory Sabatini that also finished inside the top 10. So the top 20 of around the green in the field in 2019, 3 of them finish top 10. So these are rules I'm creating. Proximity was another stat that correlated. Like we see a lot of golfers that finish inside the top 20. Basically, I have 2 golfers for proximity that finish inside the top 10. So I just recorded that. We have 4 golfers that finished inside the top 13. So, it's okay to think, find 2 golfers that finished inside the top. 2 golfers in the top 20 proximity, pick 2 of those golfers to put in your lineup. And then the same thing applies for birdie or better. So like Ryan Palmer, Jordan Spieth, and Tony Finau. They finished top 10 in 2019, and they were a part of the top 20 in birdie or better. So when I go and look at 2020 DK page and I do those exact same things, we're going to see, like if I went to birdie or better and sorted this by percentage, so 28.06 is the best birdie or better percentage that belongs to Webb Simpson, you're going to see a little B within this column. And this is kind of my way of tracking. So what did I do with that information? Basically, I tried to find a last year 1 that, I won't lie, it was easy to do last year 1s because you can see Webb Simpson is he has 4 stats that he's top 20 in. So does Rory McIlroy. So like right away, I take care of 2 bent grass stats. I want to find 3 golfers that are top 20 in bent grass stats. They're both last year 1s. So now my last year 1s are checked. I don't have to worry about that. They're 2 golfers that are top 20 of around the green. So 2 out of the 3 are checked. And then birdie or better, I want 2 out of 3. So boom, like now I just need to find 1 golfer that's good with birdie or better. I need to find 1 golfer that's good in around the green, and 1 golfer that's good for bent grass. So who did I find? Well, let's use this one here, Jordan Spieth. He's obviously a favorite of a lot of people. If I go ahead and just go by salary now and not really care about that, if I went to Jordan Spieth, he is good on bent grass and around the green. So bent grass is now checked. I don't have to worry about bent grass at all. Around the green is now checked. That is 3 golfers that have really good around the green. That's all checked. Don't have to worry about that. Now I have to find 2 golfers that are good with proximity and 1 golfer that has birdie or better. So Josh Teeter, if I go to Josh Teeter, if I go all the way down and find him, he's good with proximity and birdie or better. Now birdie or better is checked for me. I don't have to worry about birdie or better. And now I have 1 proximity guy. So all I have to do is find just 1 proximity golfer. And that's it. I don't have to find a birdie or better because I already have it. But what I ended up doing is, like, I liked Cam Champ. I was trying to find golfers here that I needed to find 1 proximity golfer. So as I was like scrolling down for proximities, like I was like, oh, Jim Furyk, but he's a 2. I don't need a 2. And I kept scrolling like, oh, Brendan Steele. Brendan Steele works. Did I actually put him for one of them? Yeah, I put him right here. Like Brendan Steele works. Like I could use Brendan Steele. Russell Knox is a 2. I don't need a 2. Tom Hoagie, 7,200, sure. But like I didn't want to leave a lot on the table, so I had a really difficult time finding. I mean, I didn't need to find a birdie or better. So really, what I could have done, I'm going to do this. By the way, this also up here, it works. Like that's another lineup that would work. I'm gonna go ahead and do this because I didn't actually need to find Cam Champ. I ended up choosing Cam Champ because he was a birdie or better, and I thought I needed a birdie or better, but I didn't. I just needed a proximity golfer. That wasn't a 1 or a 2. I mean, even Bronson Burgoon would work. He's proximity end. So if I did that instead of instead of Byung-Hun An, what do I have left for salary? I have 8,300 left. So really what I could do is, so of 8,300, I don't even need to find anybody that fits any mold. But I do want to stay away from 1s and 2s, primarily because I don't need 1s or 2s. Like I could go with Daniel Berger, and like birdie or better is never going to hurt. Like I could have a little extra. I probably don't care. I shouldn't actually do that, now that I think of it. I should just find a P, which was Joel Damon in this one, for instance. And then even like Cam Champ, I could just remove and choose someone else. Like okay, how about this? We'll go with Tom Hoagie, like we were doing before. So I have 7,200 left, and select anyone really that isn't a 1 or a 2. So I could go with like Corey Connors. I mean, I would want to find like a different color, because these colors obviously represent the last year bucket score. So this would be a last year bucket 4. So if I was to look at the last year bucket 4s and see, can I play more than one of them with confidence? When I look at this, I'm looking, obviously this is last year bucket 4. This is the score that I'd be using. In 2017 it happened once where there were 3. Otherwise every other time there's only been 1. So that's why I'd be like, yeah, I don't want to play another last year 4. Let me get a last year 5, which, I mean, not terrible. It's nearly the same as, yeah, it's pretty close to a last year 4. So like, yeah, that works. This lineup would work, as did that last one. But what I'm going to end up doing anyways, I'm just gonna select golfers I like. So obviously I like Rory McIlroy. Like I'm not gonna go crazy and do all of this like what I just showed you. It's a fun way, and if you're creating like single bullets or whatever, and you're really grinding on creating a lineup, maybe you do it this way just for the hell of it, just for fun. Maybe you find that perfect combination and it all works out together, and that's the optimal lineup. Could happen, you never know. But what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to go down. I'm going to basically, I have 100 lineups I'm creating. 10% of them are going to be Rory McIlroy, And I'm essentially going to do that with every golfer. How often do I want to play them? So like Webb Simpson, I want to play in nearly like 15% of my lineups. So in my lineup construction or my lineup construction page, I have basically my ownership percentage. Like I keep track of that, what's over here. And so when I do create all my lineups, I can see how many golfers I have of each, and then figure it out. But I also can do that raw math in my head. 100 lineups is easy to go by. So, Rory McIlroy I want there, and I'm going to go down and complete that. Now, am I going to stick to this last year 2, last year 1 rule that I created? Probably in 80% of my lineups I am. I would have an actual percentage I'd give you. It'd probably be like 86% that I would do that in. Because if it doesn't happen, and I'm not even going to get into it, it would be whenever we have a last week score, I'll tell you why. But I'm not going to get into it right now. But yeah, so like 80% of my lineups I will. And so if you want to do that same thing, if you create 10 lineups, 8 of your lineups follow this rule. Or maybe just an all 10, because why not? Otherwise, it wouldn't be detrimental if you had 3 last year 1s and 0 last year 2s. Like, it wouldn't be detrimental. Like, that's a possibility that could happen. So obviously, do with what your convictions tell you. Same goes by only having 1 last year 1 and then 3 last year 2s. We had 3 last year 2s last year that finished inside the top 10. That could happen again. But for the most part, I'm not going to live and die by it. Like the last year 2s, I think are pretty weak, especially in the field this year, because obviously the fields in the last couple of years not the greatest. So that's what I'm going to go with. That I'm going to just see. I'm going to try to turn my mic volume up because I'm not sure exactly if you guys can hear me that well. Well, whatever. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just create my lineups that way. So you do whatever you feel comfortable in doing. I'm not going to create any more lineups, but I am going to go through the last year buckets because I want you guys to see this because you don't have access to my spreadsheets. I'm actually going to talk about one thing before I do that. So a buddy of mine, well, me and a buddy of mine, what we ended up doing is we looked at some information. We were trying to figure out what is a finishing position for each player based off their salary that they need to get to in order for their salary to pay off. And obviously there's probably models out there that have figured this out, but we kind of wanted to do it ourselves and take a look, basically try to create some kind of model or whatever. So this is what we ended up doing. And I'm not saying this for you guys to follow along with. I'm just saying this. I'm bringing this up because I want to see what it looks like at the end. So once we get results populated in here, I want to see what this looks like. But let me explain what it is. Basically, what I ended up doing was I took the salary of, say, a Rory McIlroy. So he's 11.8. I stripped the zeros out, and if say he returned a 1 for his value, he'd score 118 points. That's based off of his salary. Now, 118 points, that'd be at an average tournament. This tournament on average scores less points, DK points, for like the whole overall score of the optimal lineup than the average tournament. So what I ended up doing is, if you can see up here, the equation I created. So what I found out, I think on average this tournament scores around 570 points. The average tournament in general on the PGA Tour, like for DraftKings points, scores around 650 points for the optimal lineup. So what I did is I divided those two numbers into each other and got kind of a weighted number for, you know, the Charles Schwab challenge. So it's 88% of like an average points per game. So although Rory at 118 points, we can actually times that by 0.88, and that's actually the like if he was to retrieve value or get you value, it would be his salary times 0.88. Well, his salary, strip the zeros, times 0.88. That's basically what you would get. So that's what this weighted, that's actually what this weighted column is here. What I ended up doing is I wanted to see what first place, the average of first place was at this tournament. So dating back to 2015, it was 121. So the average points anyone scored at this tournament over the last 5 years was 121. Kevin Na scored 113 last year. Justin Rose in 2018 scored 140 points. That's the most. I believe there's one score underneath Kevin Na. I think someone scored 104 points, I think. I can't remember off the top of my head, but that would be your disparity, your min-max or whatever. So Kevin Na last year scored 8 points less than the average. Well, it wouldn't have been the average at that time. Kevin Na's score is combined into that. It's baked into that average score. So anyways, so the weighted score for Rory based off his salary would be 104.23. That would not be considering the average first place score. The salary expectation column over here does. So that's what this 121.5 actually is. So I added this score plus 121.5, divided it by 2 to get this. And then fantasy points per game is the exact same thing. So it would be a golfer's fantasy points per game. And I did the exact same thing. What I'm looking forward to with this is seeing if someone exceeds their value. You know, like once the tournament is done, coming back to this, populating the results and being like, So Rory finished 5th and scored 95 points. He was in a lot of lineups that scored a lot of money, but not in the first place lineup. When we look at this, how confident do we feel that Rory's going to score over 103 points? I don't have all those stats in front of me right now, but that's where I want to get to. So if say he scored more than this weighted score, or even the salary expectation, if he's scored more times over 112 than he did under it, I think it's a for sure play. Like you have to play Rory at that price. If not, then you just say, nope, don't want to do it. And really, depending on your convictions, is what you're going to play, like how often you're going to play him. So maybe you throw that into a percentage. Like obviously, some wizard somewhere has figured all this stuff out. I haven't gotten there yet, but I've been toying around with it, and I think it's pretty fun. Try to figure it out. With all that being said, when I look at these numbers, I don't like playing Rory. Like for DraftKings, 11-8 is too much. And if he doesn't get first, second, or third place, I just don't see him scoring to that threshold. And in all honesty, he has to score like second place, but really bomb like on one of the days. You know, like have a few triple bogeys, a few quads, that kind of thing. If he doesn't, then he's obviously going to win. But either way, why I said the quads and the triples is because that's where obviously him not getting first place, but him scoring really well on DraftKings. That's the one way you can do it. Really the only way. So anyways, I created this column here in column W. Basically what it is, it's does the fantasy points per game outweigh the Charles Schwab challenge weighted score that I have? And if it says yes, then obviously I have, you know, that yes there. So that's what we're going to be looking at. That's what I'm actually going to include. I'm going to hide this column so we can see everything over here, and I'm also going to hide odds as well. Let's go through all the buckets now and look at the golfers. So now I also have this column over here. Let's go through last year 1 through last year 6 and then basically conclude the video at the end there. So as we look at last year 1, by the way, go ahead, pause this, screenshot it. I don't care. This is for your benefit. I know this video is going to be coming out late, which is my fault. I wanted this to come out at 7 p.m., but I'm sitting here looking at 10 p.m. So you're probably not going to see this video until like 10:30, 11 Central Time. It's a little too late. But anyways, looking at last year 1 buckets, we want to find 2 golfers here that we want to play. We can do this a couple different ways. Let me just scroll through all of them, and basically for you to screenshot or whatever, because you get to see all of my all of the stats that I have right now populated. So this is all for you. Go ahead, pause, screenshot, whatever, wherever you want to get to, and then we can talk about some of these guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to filter out all the blanks. This leaves me with 35 golfers that are in this last year bucket 1 score. Of these, I'm also going to take out, well, first of all, I think the golfers that have 1s are leading in stats, or no, there's golfers that I like. Do I like Bubba Watson? I don't see why I would actually. I'm not going to play Bubba. I don't know why I chose Bubba. Anyways, so when we look at this, I guess the only other thing that I would do is look at this weighted thing, because these are already the top 20 in our stats that we like. So like it doesn't really, like pinpoint any golfer that we want. I could tell you select any of these golfers and feel comfortable with it, like all the way down to Victor Hovland. Feel comfortable playing any of those golfers. Who do you cement your foundation with? That's the big thing. The only column I can think of doing this by is this exceeds the weighted score. Can't think of. And also looking at course history as well. So I guess if I hide this column, go back, I think we can see it pretty decently now. Yeah. We only want to find 1 or 2 golfers that don't have course history. We do want to find golfers that do have course history. So like Webb Simpson, I think it's Webb or Rory. I think those are the 2 choices you're really going to have to make when it comes to those last year 1s. Where are your convictions? Where do they lie? Only one of them exceeds their weighted score, and like Webb exceeds it by a lot. I think you could, at this price, you could get Webb finishing anywhere between 1st and 8th place, and he's going to bring back value for you. As Rory, it's 1st to 3rd. That's it. For $2,000, I think I would much rather play Webb Simpson over Rory or McIlroy. There's an enigma underneath Webb in the name of Brooks. This 50 is actually a terrible number for Brooks. What I would really like this number to be, what I would want to compare the weighted number to this fantasy points per game is actually the overall fantasy points per game that these golfers have, because Brooks obviously was battling a knee injury, surgery, and this would be poor form because of that injury. Really hard to determine, where Brooks is. Same with DJ. Apparently DJ had a knee injury as well. Like that one was a little bit less disclosed than the Brooks one, or it was more less disclosed. So really it's how do you feel about those golfers? But yeah, let's go ahead and take this out and look at all of our yeses. And when we look at a lot of this, these are really your only confidence golfers. And I wouldn't even say Louis is a confident golfer because he can withdraw at any moment's time, any moment's notice. These three golfers I like a lot. I mean, you could pair Webb Simpson. Oops. Whoa. Oh, I copied the wrong one. So like Webb and Scotty. I'll put Scotty here and Webb here because then we're going to just throw Gary in the other places. We have Gary there and Gary there. So you could start your lineups like this. And like that might be a solid approach to creating lineups. I'm guessing, I mean, I know Scotty Scheffler is going to be popular. I know Gary Woodland will be popular. I do believe Webb Simpson is going to be popular as well. But yeah, you could do something like that. You could also select any three of them and then combine them with any of these guys down here. You know, depending on what your convictions are. You know, Noren, great around the green. McNeely and Munoz and Cam Smith, great birdie or better players. Doc Redman leads in proximity. Like, you can choose any of these guys and they'll fill that void that you're looking for. But yeah, Simpson definitely by far your top guy for the exceeds weighted score that is a last year one, for sure. Like, probably the best play in the entire field. Let's go ahead and do that for last year twos. There aren't a lot, not as many. Let's see, Tony Finau to Josh Teeter. So you, okay. Well, it's just one person underneath. So you can't see Josh Teeter, but he's right there. But Tony Finau to Josh Teeter. Go ahead, screenshot it, whatever. We'll go ahead and do the exceeds weighted as well. And now we only get a few players. So like Ryan Palmer down to Scott Piercy, Brian Gay. Really, like, Piercy and Palmer provide a little bit more than just these twos. And in reality, I can just remove those twos. Like, it's not a big deal. So yeah, like Palmer, I think a lot of people like Palmer, but you could obviously throw Palmer here. And then anyone else like Horschel, sure. We do need two other golfers for proximity, I think, unless Woodland was a proximity golfer. Was Woodland? Let's see, Woodland is. What is Gary Woodland? Oh, he's a dark green. Birdie or better, not proximity. So yeah, maybe we throw in Scott Piercy because he's a proximity guy. So now we have two proximities. Those take care of our proximities that we need. If we were to go by that one model that I was kind of going with, Webb, obviously you have the four, or really the three other columns. You have bent, approach, birdie or better. Scheffler is just birdie or better. So really we would need to find one more birdie or better, two more around the green. We probably could find that, honestly, in these two right here. But we do need to find two golfers around the green and one birdie or better. I wonder if we can do that with the rest of the golfers. So if we like chose just threes, we have a around the green. We have bent, ooh, and birdie or better. Very interesting. That looks sexy as hell, I won't lie. This does not, but we'll see if we can make it work out. So now we've got bent grass taken care of, right? I mean, Webb. Oh, we don't. We need one more bent grass golfer. Birdie or better just was taken care of. I need around the green and bent grass, which I don't think we're going to get at a lower price. So 6,200, and of course this is by weighted Oh, that's so close. I don't have any capital B's down here. Oh, Steve Stricker. Look at that. Steve Stricker is our savior. that works for what we're doing. Anyways, that was I was so curious to see what that looked like, but like 7600 we need to find a BA, badass. That's who we need to find. At 7600, somewhere in there we need to find a BA. Young Hun An. There's the badass. There's your winning lineup right there. It's a pretty good lineup actually. Wow, I like that lineup and it feels okay. That's cool. Like we'll figure this out. All right, let's go through the rest of them pretty quickly. I don't have a lot of time. I still have to create all my lineups too. Obviously, like I don't know if you can tell. Here's your full. Oh, it's not your full. Here's your full threes. I didn't do that with the twos, did I? Here you go, guys. Here are all your twos. I'm sorry. Let's go. Oh, I did do it with the twos. Here are all your threes. Sung Jae obviously pops out. Good on bent. Top 20 bent, top 20 proximity, top 20 birdie or better. Looks pretty good. But yeah, screenshot it, pause it, all that good stuff. Who exceeds? John Rahm does. That's awesome. Joel Damon as well. That's also awesome. Denny McCarthy and Bronson Burgoon also exceed that weighted score. Pretty cool. I mean, this just really narrows it down. I mean, it doesn't. I don't have a rule of how many last year threes you want to play. I would say this though. If we go back to the notes, how frequent? So no more than 3 inside the top 10. So you don't want to live and die at the, picking 3 golfers within this. Let's go to last year 4s. Here are all your last year 4s, and obviously not many top 20 in those stats that we were high on. Like we want to see golfers in. I guess let's go back. I want to go back to that really quick. So if I went and sorted this by result and then got rid of some of these things so we don't have to look at stats that aren't interesting. When we look at 1st through 10th and we look at all of the stats here, I'm actually going to hide this because we don't need to look at that either. We want to find birdie or better. But if we look at all of this, I'll tell you what, Mackenzie Hughes does not pop up for top 20. I don't think he does, at least. Mackenzie Hughes was really close. For around the, where is he? Mackenzie Hughes, 85. I thought it was 46. Okay, so like, overall bent 48. Is he anywhere close to the top 20? No, he isn't here either. No. So Mackenzie Hughes does not fit any of those check boxes when it comes to what we were looking for. So like, obviously you don't have to look at someone like that. Like I can go into all of these and show you like the golfers that are in the top of a certain stat. Probably these right here. All of those golfers are going to be in the top of their stats as well. So maybe we have 3 golfers that don't follow what I've been preaching this entire time. 3 golfers out of the top 10, really. I mean, Jordan Spieth is also going to be up there. Maybe Nick Watney. Okay, so 4 golfers of the top 10 do not follow under that that guideline that I pointed out. You know, trying to find letters next to the people's names, you know, for top 20 in their stats. But it is a way to pinpoint those golfers. Obviously, you can create a lineup based off of that. Okay, so I wanted to point that out before going into the rest of them. So like you can pick any of these golfers. You don't need to find a golfer that has any of this. And we will find out if any of the weighted scale actually works out. But we do have quite a bit of fours that do fit in that model. Look at the fives. Pretty decent here as well. 4 golfers that fit, or not fit, but exceed their salary expectation. And only 2 golfers that fit for the sixes, last year 6. How often does the last year 6 finish inside the top 10? It's not good. Only 1 golfer, at most 1 golfer, and that was 2017 and 2016. So do with that as you will. You know, maybe that doesn't lean you to Byung-Hun An, but yeah, maybe. I mean, it's a Wild West type of week. We don't know what's going to happen. So yeah, I think it's fun to experiment, especially when we don't have like recent form to follow. These golfers have been itching to get back. It's been 3 months. One other thing to add is apparently these guys can get tested at any moment in time, and if they have any traces of COVID, they have to be done with the tournament. So they have to withdraw according to the PGA, whatever their guidelines and rules are. So definitely keep that in mind, because if that is the case, you don't really want to be heavy overweight on one golfer or another. So please keep that in mind. Hopefully you guys don't, I mean, hopefully we all don't really get bit by that. Like that would stink. But yeah, other than that, guys, I'm going to end it at that. We're going to keep it under an hour. That's awesome. And we're going to upload this video as quick as possible, and I'm going to get to creating lineups. But thank you guys for watching. Good luck with your contests. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you in the review video on Sunday. Bye.